Hello there and welcome to the program. Now, due to public demand, this is a continuation of the discussion we had last week on the status of rice farming in Kenya.
Mchele ya nje sio tamu kama hii yetu.
Moja ni Pakistani inakujanga kutoka nje inatuletea shida sababu mchele wetu haipatangi pesa mingi.
Many of you wanted to know how come 70% of rice that is consumed in Kenya is imported. Is it because Kenya does not have capacity to produce enough rice?
The potential is there, we can cover more, but the biggest challenge we have is element of water abstraction.
The technology of harvesting water, the technology of producing rice.
In this show, we delve deeper into the weaknesses and the opportunities that exist and how those opportunities can be exploited. Welcome, I'm your host, Alex Chamwada. Today, we are in Kisumu County, featuring Ahero and West Kano irrigation schemes. But first, here is our fact sheet.
Western Kenya schemes consist of Ahero irrigation scheme and West Kano irrigation scheme.
Ahero irrigation scheme is located in the Kano Plains between Nandi Escarpment and Nyabondo Plateau. The scheme was started as a pilot project to explore the feasibility of irrigation in Kano Plains. Construction of Ahero irrigation scheme started in 1966 and operation started in 1969. According to the National Irrigation Board that manages public irrigation schemes, Ahero has a farmland of about 2,170 acres. Like Ahero, West Kano irrigation scheme is also located in the Kano Plains between Nandi Escarpment and Nyabondo Plateau. It was started in 1974 and the operations commenced 2 years later. The scheme has a farmland of about 2,230 acres comprising paddy fields. The largest irrigation scheme in Kenya remains Mwea in Kirinyaga County with an area of about 30,000 acres. Meanwhile, the challenges facing the management of rice farming in Kenya include high cost of electricity used to run pumps, high farm input prices, for example fertilizer, and weak farmer organizations.
All right, before we continue, let's sample views from our viewers.
Agidi claims that the government helped Mwea do well, and he gives kudos to the cooperative societies in Mwea, which he says are well managed. The Agricultural Finance Corporation says it is financing irrigation and rice farming. The parastatal is calling upon interested farmers to partner with it. Mary Muyonga is appreciating the work done on the Chamwada Report. She hopes that the challenges facing the agricultural sector can be tackled by both levels of government. And Deco Sunesis says that was an eye-opener show.
Judith Okeo is a widow. She's been in rice farming in Ahero for the last 20 years.
Hii ndio mahali ninatoa mapato yangu ya kufundisha watoto, ya kulisha mimi kwa sababu mimi pia ni mjane. Ninaona ni mategemeo nzuri kwa sababu nikilima siwezi kuomba.
Judith, whose farm is about 5 acres, is among the 800 rice farmers in Ahero who would have been motivated to produce even more rice had they been getting a better price for their produce.
Saa zingine inauzwa kwa 30 kwa kilo, saa zingine inapanda 35, saa zingine inakuwa 37, tena inarudi chini hivyo hivyo. Hatuna bei ya kawaida.
Jacob Ongere, who's been depending on rice farming for the last 30 years, goes through the same experience. He understands the challenges from first-hand experience, being the head of the umbrella group of the Ahero farmers known as the Ahero Irrigation Scheme Revolving Fund.
Kilimo ya mchele inataka pesa iwekwe pamoja. Inataka kazi ya kununua vitu ambayo tunatumika hapa itumiwe pamoja ili kazi iwe gharama iwe kidogo. Sasa sisi tumekaa pamoja tukatengeneza magroups, na hizo groups iko umbrella yake ambayo imeunganisha hizo groups zote, na hiyo ndio pale niko kama kiongozi wake ambaye na pesa yote ambayo imefanywa hapa. Ukisikia wanatema walichukua loan, wanachukua hizo zote kutoka ofisi yangu.
There have been claims that the government of Kenya favored farmers in Mwea irrigation scheme in central Kenya in terms of capacity building when it comes to management of cooperative societies. But according to Ongere, that is not the case, as farmers in Western and Nyanza have simply failed to manage themselves.
Tuko na cooperative ingawa tulianzisha juzi. Unajua cooperative hapa kwetu, cooperative iko na historia mbaya, lakini tuliamusha cooperative yetu juzi na bado tunaendelea kutengeneza. Hata juzi tulikuwa Mwea, tukasoma vile yao inaendelea, ndio saa hii tumetengeneza yetu na bado tunaendelea ili tuweke shares iendelee juu, tushike pamoja.
Then there is the role of mechanization, whose success also depends on how organized the farmers are.
Right now we have 13 tractors, but they have not gone into production because we are yet to pay.
Serikali ya Kenya wakiungana na serikali ya Japan wametoa asilimia 75 kwa gharama ya hiyo tractor. Sasa imebaki ni 25 tu ndio nataka sisi kama wakulima tutoa. Na unajua hapa kama kilimo ya mchele, hii ardhi inalimwa kama iko maji na rotation inatakana, na kutumia rotator ni kama umefanya kilimo na haru. Sasa hiyo unafanya kwa siku moja tu. Sasa hiyo itaharakisha kazi, itaweka mchanga iwe nyororo kabisa ambao pata unaweza transplant mchele ndani yake na iwe nzuri. Sasa hiyo ndio muhimu yake.
When the production costs are high, they are passed on to the consumer, and that could explain why imported rice may be cheaper than locally produced rice, coupled with the fact that rice from countries like Pakistan is produced through modern and efficient farming methods on large scale. Food security expert Dr. James Nyoro says the solution may not be about banning imports, but Kenya upping its production methods to compete.
Ahero and Bunyara and West Kano can produce almost 3 times or 4 times what they are doing today. So we can very quickly, looking at the small-scale irrigation schemes that we are talking about, we can move up to about 450 very quickly if we can mechanize, if we can provide more water, which can be done within 1 or 2 years, hence reducing the import to about 100.
Mchele ya nje hawezi affect price yetu kwa sababu mchele ya nje sio tamu kama hii yetu. Hii yetu ni tamu zaidi kwa sababu tunatoa hapa locally na most of the people wanaona vile tunalima na tunatoa leta hapa, na zile zinatoka nje hatujui penye imetoka na why wameleta hapa kwa market yetu.
The issue of being cheap or not cheap basically is element of economies of scale, because we still achieve a price of close to 145 shillings per kilo of basmati and 100 shillings per kilo of Sindano variety kind of rice, which is non-aromatic in nature. But the issue of pricing of rice is majorly controlled by elements of demand and supply, because at one point during harvesting time, rice here is sold at a little bit a cheaper price as compared to the imported rice.
If you go to the supermarket today, you'll be able to see the 3 grades, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. The price differentials should commensurate with the quality, but that does not always happen, because then the poor quality rice is getting in areas where the high quality rice will not be able to come in. But there will always be demand. There will be consumers who will be eating that kind of rice. So you wouldn't say that the broken rice that is refined is bad. It has its own niche within the market. The transparency that there is in the marketing, you do not expect those distortions where a raw quality is being sold for higher price. No, not in the rice marketing.
Apart from challenges related to farm inputs and post-harvest management, including marketing, a common problem across Kenya's public irrigation schemes is unreliable water supply. The source of water for the Ahero irrigation scheme, for example, is River Nyando, that is associated with flooding, but the river's full potential has yet to be tapped.
It could be enough, but there are still some challenges. We have a lot of frequent power interruptions that gives shortages at critical crop stages. So that now creates a bit of water stress to the crops and brings a lot of conflict with the farmers. But River Nyando is an all-year-round river with the appropriate technologies and with the issues of damming and appropriate abstraction methods, we might be able to get enough water to supply water to both West Kano and Ahero irrigation scheme and any other areas that have potential for irrigation development within the area.
The cost of managing the water is high, also because of siltation that is caused by poor farming activities along the river all the way from the upstream where water catchment areas have been destroyed. Unlike what is happening in Ahero, whereby the scheme depends on pumping, in Mwea, water extraction is by gravity, which is said to be cheaper.
Unfortunately, the proposed site is about 50 kilometers from where we're standing right now. So this will involve a lot of land acquisition and resettlement and land acquisition. And with this, there comes the social aspects where people may not be willing to cede way for this project to go through. So we are also appealing to the locals and also the political class to help us sensitize our farmers and the people within this project vicinity that such an initiative will enable us not only improve on our food security, but will also boost the economic growth of this area.
Time now to take a breather. We have more on the status of rice farming in Kenya right after the break. Welcome back. We are discussing the status of rice farming in Kenya. Last week, we pitched tent in Mwea irrigation scheme that is found in Kirinyaga County. Today, we are in Kisumu County, featuring Ahero and West Kano irrigation schemes. Before we continue, time again to sample views from our viewers.
Kazaliwa Jioni observes that Kenyan rice is the best, and it is sad to see imports heavily competing, quote, with our own. But Simon Kibet says, quote, if a kilo of pishori costs 130 shillings and the rice from Pakistan costs 80 shillings, then we're going for the cheaper. Mark Mchuma has a similar view. He says many Kenyans afford Pakistani rice compared to our own pishori. Kelvin Kea thinks the problem is because of brokers. He says challenges of brokers buying rice from farmers needs serious intervention. Isaac Gachina wonders why Kenya still imports rice despite having enough labor, land, and skills.
Remember, statistics show that 70% of rice consumed in Kenya is imported, meaning there is room for expansion, and if well managed, the rice-growing sector could have far-reaching implications on livelihoods in Kenya. Now, before we shift focus on the impact of rice farming in Western Kenya, let's revisit Mwea in Kirinyaga County. Despite the fact that the scheme's full potential is yet to be realized, the impact of the current status of rice growing is evident.
Mwea has a booming economy because over the last, like I said, 2-3 years, the rice production, the rice processing has also changed. It has increased. So today, the livelihood in Mwea has changed significantly. The problem has always been, what are the returns to the farmers compared to what the consumers are paying? In other words, how many agents are involved in the value chain and what exactly are the returns to the farmers? If you go to Wanguru, if you go to Gurubani and all those places, what you see is that there is more traders. There are more traders making money than probably the farmers.
After harvesting, one of the other important stages in the value chain that matters as far as the income of the farmer is concerned is milling. And one of the key millers in Mwea is Mwea Rice Mills, a subsidiary of the National Irrigation Board.
Yeah, shareholding, farmers 45%, National Irrigation Board 55% shareholding. We pay on delivery. Immediately you deliver, we pay immediately. We don't keep money for the farmer. We just make sure that we pay immediately.
Kati tunavuna, tunaweka mchele kwa magunia. Gunia moja inabebanga kama kilo 100. Na kilo moja ndio tunauzanga na 40 per kg. Kwa hivyo gunia moja unauza for allowed 4,000. Sasa hiyo ni bei ya bloka. Lakini wale kama Silio Board wakija kutununulia, wanatununulia na 50 per kg. Gunia moja wanafikisha 5,000.
There are private millers too in Mwea, the biggest one being Nice Rice Millers that is owned by Charles Njiru Kaburu, a prominent businessman commonly known as Mkombozi.
Kabla hatujaanzisha hii kiwanda kulikuwa na mashida mengi. Walikuwa wanasiaga kwa machini zingine ndogo ndogo. Kwa hivyo mtu akipeleka gunia zake kama gunia 5, 10, anakaa muda wa wiki moja bila kumaliziwa kusagiwa hiyo mchele. Kwa hivyo kama Nice Rice Miller sasa tunawasaidia kwa sababu ukikuja na hizo kama mbagi 30, hiyo ni muda wa dakika 30 tu. Kwanza tunanunua yetu binafsi kama kampuni. Pia kunao wengine wanakuja na mchele yao. Wanasiaga mchele yao peke yao. Wanakuja tunawapatia service, wanatulipa kitu kidogo. Hizo zingine tunawapatia kama service sawa. Wanalipa shilingi 3 kwa kilo moja, lakini mahali ambao wanaweka hiyo mchele yao tunawapatia free of charge.
Hapa nyuma niko hapa, hii ni soko. Na kama ni soko, mtu ako na mchele yake ametoa kwa shamba. Akitoa kwa shamba anasiaga anakuja hapa kuuza. Sasa wakasoma wanakuja na wengi wanaletwa na Mkombozi. Anatuletea wakasoma akatoa advertisement huko kwa barabara. Wakasoma wengi wakajua hapa ni factory mzuri, wakaingia na ile anatufanyia nzuri ni kufanya hakuna kitu kingine itaingia hapa isipokuwa ni bishori yenyewe. Hii Pakistani inakujanga kutoka nje inatuletea shida sababu mchele wetu haipatangi pesa mingi sababu inakuja inaangusha bei. Serikali ifunga hiyo mchele isinje ikakuja ya Mwea ndio ipate pesa, wakulima wapate pesa.
Gurubani town, commonly known as Nice City, has grown because of rice business. The town is also commonly known as Nice City and includes a chain of shops affiliated to Nice Rice Millers. Back to Western Kenya irrigation schemes and pick Ahero town for example. The town has been transformed thanks to rice farming, yet only a percentage of the sector's potential has been tapped.
Kulima mchele ndio nabadilisha Ahero. Ahero nakuwa soko ya mchele, business naendelea Ahero, naendelea sauri ya mchele. Na watu ya Ahero yote nalima mchele. Unajua mchele ndio crop kubwa sana pande ya Ahero. Na sisi nakisaendelea kulima. Kama mimi mkulima alianza kulima mchele 1979 mpaka sasa hivi bado naendelea kulima mchele. Na hiyo mchele nakisaidia mimi sana, nafundisha naye watoto, hata mimi napata chakula ya nyumba, nakula kwa nyumba. Hii yote bodaboda ya Ahero natoka kwa mchele.
Kivipi?
So unajua watu wengine nalima mchele nanunua naye. Watu wengine naweza kodesa masamba yao. Kama unakodesa hata samba 3, 6,000. Unakwenda kununua bodaboda unaendelea naye.
And that's where we end our show today, but the discussion continues. The status of rice farming in Kenya. You can continue to participate on our online editions and be sure to join us again next week for another informative show. On behalf of the crew, I'm Alex Chamwada signing off from West Kano Irrigation Scheme in Kisumu County. Bye-bye for now.